Well, howdy.
Oh, shit. Scared me. I was like, what?
Howdy and welcome to What in the Shibal with Susie and Ed.
We're just two Asian Americans talking shit about shit.
Sometimes.
And I guess howdy is our greeting for the time being. Howdy, Ed. How are you?
Howdy, how? Howdy, how?
Oh, man.
What's happening?
I don't know. Hi, Ed. How are you? How was your week?
Good. My week was good. You know.
It was really unconvincing. Good. My
I
week
just don't
was
really
good.
remember what happened. I feel like I was just working, making some videos about, videos that I make about people.
Hi, are you okay?
Yeah.
The heat getting to you?
The heat is, oh my God. It just literally went from fall weather to disgustingly humid overnight.
I know. And I kept telling people are like, oh my God, June gloom is lasting forever. I'm like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because when LA will deliver if you want to get the heat. She will come through for you. Do not worry.
And I get it. It's not like Miami heat or East Coast heat, but man, it has gotten significantly more humid over the years because, the warming of the globe.
It's as if the climate is changing. I feel like we're in for like a really hot fall and winter. And there's nothing worse than I
love how you just skipped over the summer. You just ignoring how gross it's going to be.
Summer's going to be hot anyway. Or I work in the valley.
But it's going to be gross.
Dude, I work in the valley. It's hot no matter what. It's gotten up to 120 degrees where I work. You know, so it's
I live in East LA. Not quite as hot as the valley.
No, you don't. I always tell whenever I drive home from work and it's warm out and, let's say 80, 85. We live closer to the beach, where my home is. And I'll call my husband and be like, hey, how's your day? He's like, oh, good. It was so hot. I was like, you never get to say that to me.
Yeah.
You don't ever get to say that to me because whatever heat you were experiencing, I was experiencing it 40 degrees hotter.
But
up to 40 degrees.
You are mainly indoors, whereas your husband goes in and out more.
He's not going anywhere. What do you mean?
Oh, maybe not.
Talking about it.
I don't think I fully know what your husband does.
I know you don't because I don't know what my husband fully does. There's no way you do.
Oh my God. That reminds me of when you used to be a kid. Mm-hmm. And I remember even in high school, I used to ask my friends, what do your parents do? And the amount of people who are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, I know my dad commutes from Philadelphia to New York every day.
What does your dad do?
You don't know what he does?
He works.
Yeah. Where does he work?
At his company. Job. At the job.
How do you not know anything?
For work.
You just know that he works, you get this.
And you get fed, and you get clothed, and you get shelter.
Access to a car. Yeah. That's pretty much it. But other than that, I think I'm maybe also just distracted because my mom's going to be here in a week from yesterday.
That's exciting.
It's exciting. It is exciting. I haven't seen her in 2 years, but I'm also anxious.
Well, I think that's...
Yeah.
Normal.
Because there's always at least one argument every time she comes, and then two with the stuff that has been divulged to her. I'm afraid we're going to talk about that stuff. But the one good side is, so my mom has two best friends that she's had since she was kids. Mm-hmm. The one was her friend from elementary school, and then the other was from end of high school. But when you're I think my mom turns 80 next year. When you're 80 years old, that's decades worth of friendship. Yeah. So, but the one the one lives in Canada, the one has always lived in California. The one that lived in California has a very special place in my heart because she was more to family to me than a lot of my actual family members.
Yeah.
When my mom was very anti-games or electronics, i.e. the cutting of the TV cord story. It was that aunt that bought me my Nintendo, my skateboard, all the games, Super Nintendo. So
she's the one who gave you a childhood.
Yeah, she always made sure that understanding how my mom was, she was the one who overcompensated to make sure I had a childhood. Yeah.
That's nice.
And then even as I grew up, as my mom hoarded information about my family, it was that aunt who would then tell me stuff. So when I used to work in Santa Monica, she lived right off of the National Boulevard exit. So I used to sometimes just stop by on the way home all the time.
Yeah.
And she would just tell me a lot of stuff that I just never knew, But the sad thing is she started displaying symptoms of early onset
dementia.
Alzheimer's a couple years ago. And then her only daughter, moved to New York last year.
Oh no.
And I was just really sad because like when my mom came, it would be like, yeah, she's visiting me, but she also got to visit her a lot. You know what I mean? So like this time I was like really sad because I was like, I don't know how much time any of them have anymore.
Right.
But I was like, it's sad that my mom's coming to visit and she's not even going to be able to see her. I found out yesterday
Can't see her?
Well, because they live in New York now.
So you're saying, I thought the daughter left. I was just going to say, left her mom.
No. She moved with her, you know, like her mom or her daughter is like big time wig in the advertising world. She's like a CEO. She runs this like global advertising company. So like they moved her to New York.
Got it.
And so she took her mom with her, you know, obviously because she takes care of her. And I was like sad because my mom wouldn't be able to see her. Well, I found out yesterday, she texted me and she's like, oh, so my mom is staying with her sister in Glendale.
Oh.
Which is like 10 minutes from me. She's like till September. And she didn't say anything, but I'm theorizing that they kind of planned it so that they could see my mom.
That's so nice.
So like I was like, oh, sweet. Not only is my mom not going to be breathing down my neck every day, like, I'm just going to go
play with
drop her off. Yeah.
Go have a play date. Bye.
Yeah. Come pick you up at 7. Okay, bye.
That's nice though. That's nice that she gets to see her.
Yeah, it is really nice.
I
cried a little bit yesterday. Yeah.
Diagnosis.
Yeah, I was like, it was like really relieving to be like, because it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but it also, you know, there's a lot of pressure around your visits with your mom, and I think that having other things to divert attention and you know whatever, and I think all the feelings that you have about having anxiety around your mom's visit is very valid. And
I mean, I'm excited to see her too.
Of course,
you know. I don't know how many of those even I have, you know, so it's like I'm excited, but still anxious.
Yeah.
Funny thing about trauma is it's traumatic.
And maybe not that funny.
Yeah, not funny at all.
Yeah.
How was your week? I feel like both our weeks were just filled with a bunch of drama that we had no part in.
Yeah,
we're just calling out other people's drama.
There was a lot of drama.
And ignorance and
personally,
stupidity.
it's just been, I feel like I have a
just
million, I say this every fucking day, but I just feel like I have so much going on.
Yeah.
I have so many things going on. I was telling you earlier, like, you know, that phrase, like, I'm burning the candle at both ends.
Which doesn't even make sense. What candle has a wick on both ends?
Well, if you dig it out a little bit, you can find it. It's there. It's in there. You're just going to dig it out.
There's too many. There's just too many innuendos about that specific body part.
I feel like I took the candle and I chopped it into several pieces and I'm burning all the ends at once. Like I feel
you're just melting it.
At most days I don't even know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm.
Threw a candle in a bonfire.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I just put it in a pan and just melt the whole fucking thing. But it's fine. Everything is good. I'm just busy. And then, you know, this week for me has been filled with a lot of content around like one specific person.
Yeah.
The Colleen Ballinger thing I went from being like, who is this person, to just being in a fucking rabbit hole about her every single fucking day because more and more things keep coming up. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast and you follow us on any social medias, you must have seen at least one of the videos I've made about Colleen Ballinger because that's almost the only thing I've exclusively been talking about. And it's really starting to piss me off because I don't want to talk about her. But the things that I find out about her, I can't not talk about.
Yeah, it seems very bad.
I'll just preface this, I guess, just because now we theorize that she is an incredibly litigious person, potentially. I will, say, before I say anything else, all of these things are just accusations and supposed things or whatever. I don't
with receipts.
I mean, that's the thing. But, in this day and age, you have to fucking cover your ass on everything you say.
Especially someone who literally uses her privilege to the furthest extent it can go.
Right. And she flexes that shit whenever she can. So,
I mean, her literal content is her flexing her white privilege.
Right. Basically. Literally. So, Colleen Ballinger is this YouTuber who started in like the earlier, maybe even late, like 2007, 2008, I think, as early as that, and has had made a huge career. I checked her net worth. She's net worth is supposedly like $13 million.
What?
Yeah, she's doing great. But
what? How reliable are those sites?
Dude, I don't even know. I just Googled it. How much is Colleen Ballinger worth? Colleen Ballinger is worth $13 million. I was like, okay, whatever. And even if it's not exact, I'm sure it's somewhere close to that. Yeah. She's been on YouTube forever. She's been on tour. She's written books. She's done, I think, movies. She did a Netflix special. Like, she's not just like nobody.
Burn it all. Burn it all.
I guess somebody came forward about these allegations that she supposedly groomed them, and then, with receipts, again, 2 people, I think, with receipts. And then all of these videos came out of her like doing these racist parody songs, being just overtly racist to pretty much any community of color that you can think of. Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people. I don't think she left anything uncovered.
Indigenous people, probably.
Oh, yeah, Indigenous people too. Yes,
yeah,
she absolutely did. She did a video calling somebody squanto. It was crazy.
Geez.
And it was like really offensive shit. And the thing is, and then, oh my God, like I'm telling you, there's so much. There's so much.
It's hard to quantify in order.
And then she did all these live shows where she would bring these little boys, little 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old boys.
How?
Call up from the audience. Come on up from the audience. You're my new bae is what she, I think, called them.
Wait, what kind of shows were these that there were kids there?
So she has this character that she plays called Miranda Sings. Now, Miranda Sings, from what I can ascertain, is somebody who is maybe on the autism spectrum. She wears this her crazy red lipstick like all over her face, and she does this very like affected voice, and she does all of these like really strange, quirky things. And I, as the aunt of a special needs child, can see it for what it is. And she basically, I think, is mocking people with, developmental, disorders and things like that. And so she would go on stage and she would call up these little boys and she would put like a bag of like cheese balls in her pants and have them like reach into her pants and like pull out cheese. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
So the parents are there. They were okay with this? This is what I keep
saying. This is the thing that I cannot get my fucking head around, because imagine if it were you standing on stage doing a character, having kids reach into your pants.
Yeah. No, if I was a parent in that audience, I would have gone to jail.
Right. But what my thing is like, if it were anybody but this conventionally pretty white girl on stage playing a character and having kids reach down their pants, like you would fucking call the cops. I would have jumped the fucking stage and been like,
crazy.
Get my kid off your fucking stage. Are you insane? Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. And it went on for a decade and a half. This wasn't just like, one time she did a show and she wrote in a character and it was weird. No, her whole career was built on this character. And I cannot get my head around, and maybe like, we missed that whole thing because my kids were born around that time, so we didn't watch YouTube videos like that. So that whole thing kind of escaped us, and obviously I was, older. I didn't watch YouTube like that. So I missed the whole thing, but like looking at it now.
Yeah, I had no idea who she was until this whole thing.
And looking at it now through the lens of like a parent, I'm like, hello? Anybody? Is there nobody in the room? Also, like, she's not by herself. She's got like, I'm sure, a manager, and I'm sure she's got like people around her who support how the show operates. Like, wouldn't you be like, maybe we don't have the children put their hands in your pants? Maybe that's a bad idea. Weird. It's crazy. And the things that I find out about her, I can't not talk about them. Even though I said this, I was like, everything that I've learned about this woman, it has been against my will. I don't want to know anything about her.
Yeah, that's why every time I see anything about her, I just send it over to you, because I do not want to fall down that rabbit hole.
I mean, but I can't help it. Oh, and the most recent thing is that she did that Toxic Gossip Train song.
Yeah.
That no one can get out. I mean, I'll give her this. It is fucking catchy because I cannot stop singing it.
I actually didn't even realize it was her song, because I heard that song through the person that
I've
been freaking out about this week.
And we will definitely talk about that too. But so she writes this 10-minute song, this apology, which there is not an apology in at all. She doesn't say, I'm so sorry for the things that I've done. She just is like, you guys are haters. You guys are making me feel bad and calling me bad and mean names.
No,
whatever.
I mean, in the title, it's you're toxic.
Right.
And you guys are gossiping about me.
Right. And so then I guess I just have come to find out. Now this isn't going to air till Thursday. Today is Tuesday. So God fucking knows what this is going to unravel to be by then. But as of right now, Today, I learned that she has licensed this song and is putting it on streaming services. Like you can find the song, a 10-minute song on Spotify. And now, allegedly, she is now hitting people with license infringement and is trying to monetize the revenues that they're making that have used this song in their videos.
Yeah.
It's
more privilege.
Fucking bananas. At first, I was like, she is in poor taste. Then I was like, ew, she's kind of a creep. Now I'm like, she's just straight up fucking, in my opinion, fucking evil. Like that shit is sinister as fuck. Like that thought would never even occur to me. It wouldn't even be on my radar to do something like that. And you're monetizing your apology where you've hurt so many people, you're making money off of it, and you're making money off of people who are talking about it and rightfully talking about it. That's crazy.
I mean, it sounds like she knows that her ship's going down, so she's trying to like capitalize as much money she can before she can't make money again. Hopefully,
I guess
can't ever make money again.
I mean, I would imagine. I mean, is that it? Is that what she's trying to do? I mean, probably.
I don't even know.
Or does she even think that this is because she was even like selling like ironic t-shirts at her shows, which just got canceled. She just had 11 shows, I think, scheduled. Those all got canceled. But at the last few shows that they did have.
Not at her decision, right? It doesn't seem like she's the kind of person who's like, you know what? There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I should probably take a break.
I'm wondering if maybe people just weren't buying tickets and they're like,
or like the venues canceled.
Yeah, right. But she was selling t-shirts that said canceled on it, like just like kind of making a mockery of like all of these allegations, really serious allegations brought against her, and be like, all right, well, let's just sell merch then. It's like, is that all this is to you? Is just a fucking cash grab? Like that's
sounds like it.
Yeah, that's really abhorrent. Like that's really to me like
but that's also like kind of like definition of evil.
Yeah, right.
Not that like the definition of, but it's a very common trait amongst horribly evil people is that they like money over everything.
Over everything else. Over the well-being and, of anyone.
Even your own personal image or public image, I guess. That's crazy.
This is her canceling her shows to me in real time is one of the only times I've ever seen somebody like who's being canceled actually get canceled, things actually being canceled. But I don't know how far this is going to go. And I don't know how much further she wants to go with it. And I don't know, obviously I don't know any of it, but it was like this like never ending like train wreck, just like on a loop. I just kept watching the train just crash over and over and over. I was like, I can't not talk about it. I don't want to talk about it and I can't help it. I'm just word vomiting and I can't stop.
Well, that's the thing about like those people, those like cancel, like people who just do like fucked up, ignorant, racist stuff is that like there are so many people in this country, in this world who are also that way, who then would like probably are excited that she's being canceled. You know what I mean?
Probably.
And they're like cheering her on and being like, yeah, you're canceled. Like this, you're on the right side now. And it's like,
what?
Yeah, like that's mind blowing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I the fact that she still has like 8 million followers is like, I'd like to talk to these 8 million people, please. Like, what are we following her for? What are we supporting? What are you actually supporting? Oh, life. But people will shock value. They do like to capitalize on it, don't they?
People love to. I mean, that's literally what everyone has seen this video. This is what my butthole looks like right now.
I have not seen it. I feel so blessed.
Well, not the actual video, because like I also have not seen it because I refuse to watch it. But like everyone knows what I'm talking about because you've heard the words. For reference, this is what my butthole looks like right now.
Honestly, till today, I did not know.
I didn't know until the other day. So I was like, I made a video about him a while ago.
What's this person? Are we going to even name this person?
Yeah, his name is Kevin Leonardo.
Yes.
So I made a video about him a while ago, like 6 months ago, because he was the one that used Stop Asian Hate to sell perfume.
What?
And then the other day I was scrolling through TikTok and I came across one of those reaction videos and I was like, why does that face look so
no.
I just like recognized his face and immediately went through it like an hour long. That's the reason why I was like, I can't do Colleen Ballinger this week.
Yeah, I got too much on my plate.
Yeah, I was like, I just went through an hour and a half of driving myself insanely mad watching all these videos.
We've been down the rabbit holes, just different rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And This idiot has been getting like crazy follows and engagement because of this butthole video. So like basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, does he have a really nice looking butthole?
I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So basically, he shows his bare butthole, and it's literally, I don't know if I want to keep saying that word, but he keeps showing, let's just call it his
rear.
His rear. Okay. He keeps, but like in the video, it happens in like the first 5 seconds. There's no warning.
Yeah.
He literally was like, hi, for reference, this, and then he just literally just shows
Unleashed the butthole.
Yeah. Pretty much. Because I watched the first 5 seconds and I was like, oh my God. And I just immediately shut it down. I was like, I'm not watching that. But so he bears his butthole, he bears his rear. And
your rear doesn't really cover
it. It doesn't cover it because like you can moon
butthole.
He shows it, you know, from
like spread eagle.
From what I understand, yes.
Cheeks apart.
He even stitched this one video where someone drew it.
Fan art?
Fan arted it. And they like covered that part with like a eraser or something. But I was like, oh, that is even more than enough than I even needed to see. So then, but it's basically pornography, right?
Yeah.
Which is whatever. I don't give a shit. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But there's appropriate channels for that for safety reasons, right?
Like an OnlyFans. Like
right.
If my kid's scrolling through YouTube and they come across that video, there's no parental warning. There's no caution.
I've literally seen comments from people being like, my 5-year-old brother showed me this video.
Oh, no.
But he's getting a workaround and it's not being taken down because he formed it as an educational video.
No,
like the video is literally titled like, how to nair your butthole.
Well, I mean, okay, so then if that's the case, are you allowed to do an educational video on like how to insert a penis into a vagina? And then be like, I have to show it because I'm trying to, like, is that okay? Like,
how to hygienically eat a vagina. You know what I mean? Like
how to murder someone. I have to show you how to do it. So I have to, sir, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here.
Where's the line, right? Yeah, I don't know. And there's even comments of people being like, it's only up because his proximity to whiteness, the algorithm thinks he's white, like da-da-da-da-da.
Oh,
and just like, you know what I mean? So like on one end, we have Colleen who, to our opinion, is actually evil. And then we have someone on the other end, Kevin Leonardo, who I'm pretty sure is just like, dumb. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing though. I think a lot of the times we pass these things off as just people being ignorant and dumb. When I think truly, sadly, it is more sinister than that.
It is.
Capitalizing on rage is a huge industry.
It is.
People accuse me of doing it all the time. I'm like, I'm trying to explain why this is not okay. And if you're feeling rage, it's because this is not okay. But I'm not using it because I want you to feel the rage. I'm using it because I've experienced the rage.
Because they're like, oh, I can't do that anymore. You're taking something away from me. And you're like, yeah.
Whatever the rage you're feeling, I'm not trying to incite your rage. I'm just demonstrating why this could be rageful.
Like, think about what kind of person would get mad because you're like, murder's not okay.
Right. How dare you?
The only kind of person I can think of is people who
like to murder.
Yeah. Or like was thinking about murdering someone one day. Like, what do you mean?
Right. Like that's okay.
Yeah. When I tell you something's racist and you get upset, it's because you are racist.
Right.
It's the only logical answer.
Right.
But I do agree with you. I don't want to just attribute it to that or like stigmatize people who don't have such high intelligence, because that's not the case. But like, I just don't think he's like sinisterly evil. I think that he just.
Here's what I think happened. I don't know the depth and breadth of his content or whatever.
Not the right words to use here.
Oh yeah, God. Especially after I've said butthole so many times. But I don't think. Here's what I think happens, and I made a video about this the other day. When you're making content, you're making videos or whatever, you don't know what's going to resonate with people. And not just the content itself, but is it going to resonate coming from me, right? When I first started, I didn't know what people liked. I just made a whole bunch of videos and whatever. I think a lot of people, when they make a video, like it was this guy I made a video, I think his name is Chase. The remote.
Yeah.
And I made a video. It was more of like a cautionary tale. Like, listen, I know this is your first video that has gone viral, very viral, 5-6 million views. And that is a very exciting feeling. And when you have that feeling, you want that feeling again. It's very much to what I understand, like, intravenous drug use is like. That hits you and you're like, I want it again. So be careful because it's a very slippery slope that you're on. Because that will ultimately be what you are known for. Like that girl Kayla, who makes all of those fucking nail salon videos. But what happens is that shit, you take it and it goes too far, and then it's over.
I agree with you. I do think it's some of that because ever since that video went viral, like all of his content is about it. He's like, why? There's one video he's like, let me explain to you why I winked at the end of that Nair video. It's like, what?
Right.
That was a whole video for
so
you?
everything's going to circle back to his butthole.
And
Everything's going to be about his butthole for the rest of his life.
But also, he also calls it a bidet. A bidet.
What? He calls a bidet a bidet?
Mm-hmm. A bidet.
A bidet.
A bidet. Mm-hmm. You know, like Biden, but with a T instead of an N.
Listen, he obviously is capitalizing on what
works. But you
works.
can be both. You can be both. You cannot be the brightest person, and because of that, you also chase this thing.
Exactly. It's because you're not the brightest person. You cannot diversify your content, and you must rely on that one thing.
And you pigeonhole yourself.
Enter Jennifer Murphy.
Yes.
This is all that same conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I got to stick to what works because I cannot find the creativity in myself to do anything else.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's to be expected now, I think, especially just in knowing what social media is like and how much people love and want to be on it. And like so many kids want to be influencers. That's what they don't want to be like doctors and lawyers, that they want to be influencers. And I think once you get a taste for it, you know, the blood is in the water.
But the enraging part though, for me, is when I go through his comments.
Yes, of course.
And it's like just
that's where the evil lives.
Thousands of people who like don't have their faces, are hiding behind like anime PFPs. And I'm pretty sure the majority of them are children.
Probably.
Who are probably in the LGBTQ community.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it enrages me that they're idolizing him because they look at it as he just says whatever is on his mind.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a guy who was the president who got elected to presidency because of that very same ideal.
Which is like...
Wow, he really just says it like he thinks it. Well, he thinks like a fucking lunatic. That's the problem.
Which that's the thing is like amongst people who maybe also share a similar intellectual level,
right?
They think that they're just saying whatever's on their mind, when in reality, people who know better know that like those people sometimes like they don't know the difference between what should be said and what shouldn't be. You know what I mean? So it's not something to what... Stupidity isn't something to admire. Ignorance isn't something to admire. You know what I mean? Like, yes confidence, talking about stuff that needs to be talked about. Those are things that should be admired.
On things that you've educated yourself on, not just fucking vomiting from your mouth, like words, just...
If being a bottoming guy for the gay community and educating them is like something you want to do, that actually sounds great. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's something that needs to be talked about, whatever. But like, not when you're then talking about how racial preferences are okay. Like he made this video on YouTube where he literally ranks his racial preferences. And as an East Asian man, and it's funny, if you watch his content enough, you understand.
Is he East Asian?
He's of Chinese ethnicity, but of Indonesian nationality.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So when
he's Chinese Indonesian. No.
Yes. But when you watch his content, you understand where his internalized racism comes from. So apparently, supposedly, according to him, he and his family were chased out of Indonesia because they were Chinese and Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Like he talks about how their apartment was burned down and all of these things. And, you know, partially because he's Chinese ethnically and because they were Catholic. So they got, you know, run out of town, basically. And, you know, and I think that's like where some of his like internalized racism comes from, either from the fact that like you got so horribly prejudiced and, you know, run out because persecuted because of who you are ethnically and what you look like, but also then by other Asian people. So there's like this, I get it. You know what I mean? But then he goes on to talk about how like therapy doesn't work.
Oh,
which
try some.
Actually, from his perspective, I do understand what he's saying. He says that it doesn't work for people who don't want it.
Sure. Okay. Fine.
Which does make sense. But like, even for those people, if you just participate in it, it does work whether you wanted to or not.
Right.
It's just a matter of like not having your walls closed off and being like, I'm not going to say anything for an hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like all that stuff makes sense. But at the same time, so either way in this video, real quick, he talks about all his racial preferences and he's like, I am not attracted to like East Asian guys. He's like, unless they're like mixed half white.
Unless you dilute your Asianness, I don't think you're attractive.
And then he outwardly talks about, there were videos where he's like, can we normalize liking white guys.
There's nothing wrong with liking white guys.
And even in his video, the one where he's like talking about his racial rankings, he's like, I like white guys because he's like, that's all I grew up with. And like, I pictured myself like, and I was like, right. You think you're explaining yourself, but in reality, you're actually proving our point about why representation is so important, because we're all told to believe that this is pretty, this is what you should desire. And you yourself got brainwashed, propagandized into believing that whiteness is greatness. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's like somewhat fascinating to watch from an angry perspective, because you're like, all of it makes sense. And psychology is like, this guy is a specimen for why psychology is so fucking real. Right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's just like the messages he puts out is so damaging.
So toxic.
So toxic. I mean, he literally talks about how he idolizes Ashkenazi Jews.
Okay. For what reason?
Because they make money. Oh. So he stereotypes Jewish people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, I think.
In a sexual way. So he thinks it's okay because he's like, oh, it's not negative. It's like, right. But if you talk to any Jewish person, being associated with money has led to violence.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, how do you not know that? And how do you just jokingly make this content?
I think a big part of what I take issue with from this guy, from what I know, is just like how flippantly he says things, and he doesn't understand like the weight of the things that he says.
Here's why I say stupid.
Like his words are so, but
no, I know.
No, because the casual nature of the way and how he says things is very, very troubling.
Yeah, it gets under my skin.
Because also though he's using it because he can get away with it by being so casual about it, right? I love Jewish men because they make money.
Also he's pandering to, like, I'm assuming the majority of his followers are white people.
Sure.
So they're all
And like, to the point that we were talking about earlier, like you can say that you have a preference on certain people because there is a certain degree of exposure for certain people that you've been around, and that is okay. As long as how did you phrase it?
Until there's a disqualifier.
Right.
You can have preferences for anything.
Right.
And it doesn't become discriminatory until you have a disqualifier.
Right.
I don't date Asians. I don't date black people. You know what I mean? Like all those things.
Right.
You just took it from a preference. I'm literally getting goosebumps because it makes me so upset. From a preference to discrimination.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I have a preference for people of color. You know what I mean? Like I think over the last like 10 years, I've just come to the realization that there comes a lot of baggage a lot of times with white people. You know what I mean? Like even if your partner's okay, somewhere in their family, someone's not going to be okay.
Right. Or their circle of friends.
Or just like not understanding things, or like, sometimes like even you said watching shows where you're like, they're just missing the obvious points that are for us people of color. And like, those are just some things that like get under my skin enough where like, maybe I would try to avoid that if possible.
Right.
But I don't disqualify.
But if you met a girl that was white or a person that was white and you were like, they're amazing and I want to spend time with you, wouldn't disqualify them because they were white. That's exactly what
I don't
saying.
use it as a disqualifier.
Right.
I just know that these are things that I think would mesh better with the things that I like, the personality traits that I like. You know what I mean? Like the belief systems.
Right.
But
experience,
again, not disqualifiers.
Right.
Because like there's beauty in everything. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I just talked about it with my friend yesterday. He and I are both in relationships with white men. And we were talking about how in certain spaces, there are just times where I'm like, you just don't get it. And I need you to be just okay with you acknowledging that you don't get it. It's not because I'm telling you I want you to understand it, because you won't. You can't. There is no way for you to fully understand and embrace what it's like for me as an Asian woman to be in a space with you and all your white friends and have somebody say something to me that is in passing seemingly so innocuous, but to me feels like a fucking slap in the face.
But especially if you're going to have kids, I feel like they do need to understand even a little bit.
Understand is one thing, but trying to understanding is one thing. But I don't think that they can fully understand, right? Yeah. Or like, I don't want to hear like, I totally get it. I totally understand. No, you don't.
Right. Yes.
You don't. And that's okay. I want to hear, I don't fully understand. I want to try to empathize.
Right.
I don't fully understand, but I want to try to learn and more about it. That is very different. I fully get it. I totally understand. No, the fuck you don't.
I don't know which one's more enraging. I get it, or it's not a big deal.
Yeah, right. I between those two, I vacillate when I hear like, and that was something that he brought up with me, is that something was said to him that really bothered him, and he took it very offensively.
So they were hanging out. It was him, his partner
and then
a group of friends
who are all white.
Mm-hmm.
And something was said to him that he took very offensively.
And what's his ethnicity?
He is Puerto Rican and Filipino.
Okay.
And something was said to him, and he was just like, are you gonna just let that fly? And they were like, let's just, you know what? Like, let's not make it a big deal. Let's just not make it a big deal. Let's not make people uncomfortable. Let's just, move on. And he was just like,
but they also called him a word, right?
Ignorant. They called him ignorant. And to be the only person of color in a room, and I don't know if I want to divulge a lot because they might be listening, but to call the only person of color in a room ignorant carries a lot of stigma, carries a lot of social stigma, and is something that we all, as people of color, hear all the time. Because of your limited grasp of the language, you're so ignorant. Because you come from a war-torn country, you're so ignorant. Because, whatever, for any number of reasons.
Which is wild because all of those things sounds like added lived experiences that other people don't have.
Right. There is definitely irony to that, always. Yeah. And so he was just like, so we're just going to gloss over this? We're just going to just whatever, like. And so we talked about and I was like, we can't expect our white partners to fully understand our lived experience. And this is why, sometimes in partnerships, there are boundaries and there are things that you can talk about and things that you can share. But if commiseration is what you're looking for, I don't know that you're going to get it. That's why you called me, right? Yeah. That's why we've been on the phone for 45 minutes, because I understand what being in that room feels like.
Yes.
I understand when somebody uses a fake Asian accent in front of me and expects me to laugh and I don't, and they say it's not a big deal, it's just a joke. I understand. I can fully understand how you're feeling because I've felt it too.
Yes.
And that is, and I've dated men of all ethnicities and religions and backgrounds. I really have. I happen to just have found my person in a white person. And that's just what happened. And it comes with a lot of things and things that he and I openly discuss in front of our daughters. Very openly. Like, Daddy will never fully understand what it feels like when we're in certain spaces. And he's never going to fully understand those subtle things that people say to us that make us feel certain types of ways.
Right.
But we can always rely on him to be supportive in how we're feeling about it.
Yes.
And that is, I think, ultimately what matters to me. And the only thing that I could, possibly want from my husband. I don't know what else I could possibly want for him to do.
I think that's part of the really important reason why it's it's important. I'm trying to think of a synonym. But I'm just going to say important 3 times. It's very imperative that you find your community, because and I used to be this person who was like, I'm confident, I'm strong enough to be the only Asian person in a white space all the time, every time. I'm killing it. You know what I mean? Like, they all think that I'm white. Like, no, none. All of those came with negative things. You know what I mean? Like, you never feel understood. The one or couple times a day, let's be realistic here, that something microaggressions happen and you're left to feel like a crazy person because everyone just dismisses you, tells you it's not a big deal. Like, stop being so sensitive.
Right.
You need to find your people, but just like your friend called you, you need someone who needs to understand and validate your feelings, because otherwise you're going to feel so alone.
It's so isolating.
It's so isolating. And I think that's part of it. And I think that's some of our listeners, you know what I mean? We get write-ins all the time of people telling us how they're in very white spaces and white states.
And they feel like we understand their experience. And we fully, and the thing is it's because we've all been in that room.
Right.
When you're sitting there with a bunch of people and somebody says something and you feel that heat in your body and you're getting upset and you're getting upset and you have to kind of decide, do I make this whole fucking room uncomfortable? Do I flip the fucking table? What do I do? Do I just fucking suck it up and just pretend like it's not happening? I don't know what to do. Right? I want to react, but I'm going to make every person in this room really fucking uncomfortable. Fuck it. I'm usually of the fuck it. Let's get uncomfortable.
Same.
And this is what I told him. I was like, so, you make it uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you as uncomfortable as you've made me. In fact, I'm going to multiply it by 10.
Right.
Because this is the only time you've done it. Let's just let's have at it.
Right. Either we all feel uncomfortable for 10 minutes or for the next 20 years, I have to feel uncomfortable sporadically throughout the rest of my life.
Right. And I just carry this fucking pit in my stomach because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable for a second.
Right. No.
Eat my shit.
Yeah. We don't live in the 90s and 80s anymore. In fact, I was going to make a video about this on TikTok. And I love them. Like, at least they used to. You know the Lawrence brothers.
Joey.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yes.
Joey Lawrence. So his brothers, Joey, the other one.
Other Joey.
I'm sorry.
Joey.
Matt. You.
Matt Lawrence. And
the one that got shafted, the younger one, the middle one, who was on Boy Meets World, and then Joey.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yes. Okay.
So they have a podcast now.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they talk about, a lot of their childhoods, their famous stuff, the show stuff, whatever. They just recently did this episode. I watched a clip of it. I don't listen to the podcast. I just get a clip. They did it with another 90s TV star. I couldn't really pinpoint who it was. I just kind of was like, I feel like I've seen that guy on TV before when I was younger. But either way, they were talking about how the 90s were this great time because
you could say what he wanted.
Everybody was watching the same thing. And now they were saying that we had this community because everyone was watching the same thing and tuning in. 25 million people were watching their show at a given time. And now there's so many options And the whole time I was watching being like, this is the whitest shit I've ever fucking heard.
Are we talking about the good old days?
Yeah.
Talking about the time when America was great?
Right. Sure. For then it's we're all watching the same thing. We're all going through. For none of us people who weren't white, that's not how it felt. You know what I mean? It's now for us, it's great. There's other content. I don't have to just watch white stories with white people and white protagonists and white heroes. It's we have these complex shows with other emotions and other people. And I just remember watching it being I just don't think that some people get it. And like you said, I'm not sure that they ever will.
Or should we even have the expectation that they can? And I was telling my friend yesterday, how though? How can
because we're fucking expected to understand how they feel. So I know it's not beyond the concept of possibility.
But then the only way for them to understand how we feel is for them to feel all those negative feelings. And is that really the only thing that we want to achieve? I don't. I mean, I know you're going to say yes just to be a snarky prick. I know you well enough now.
I'm still kind of trying to understand the concept of the question you're asking.
The concept of my question is,
thinking yes.
If we want them to fully understand the things that we've lived and experienced, all of those negative things, the only way they can understand that is if they go through and understand and go through all of these negative things.
I don't think that they have to go through it.
So we want them to, how? Then
I think them.
Listen, okay, let's talk childbirth.
I don't think they have to live through it.
Childbirth. I've been through childbirth twice.
Fair. Okay.
It is a very intense, painful.
I'll never understand it.
You will never fully understand it.
I know what kidney stones feel like, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Right.
And you might experience the worst pain you've ever felt.
Right.
But you will never fully understand the pain I've experienced.
Yeah.
So that's why when I say my husband can't understand how I feel, it's because he'll never experience the things I've experienced. So to have the expectation that they can or should, I think is unfair.
But I don't think you have to fully understand something to understand something.
Agreed.
We all know what horrible pain feels like.
But anything short of fully is not fully.
It's not.
Right.
But it should be enough to have empathy and understanding.
100%.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I don't know that they necessarily have to live it.
Sure.
But maybe just like they were saying, we all understand the white plight because we were forced to watch it.
Of course.
And hear about it and listen to it through songs and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. But so I know that, so let's say I love to give analogies. I feel like that always helps me understand. Yeah. So let's say I met somebody who had their hand cut off. I can empathize and understand what it must be like, and the difficulties that they have to, the struggles that they might have to go through, or even just having to buy different things to help them get through their days, or having to find alternate ways of, putting on their makeup, brushing their hair, whatever, all of these things. I can try to understand that, but I'll never fully have to experience it and go through it.
Yeah, it's true.
And so that would mean that I could make, if they were to come to my home, I could try to find ways to make it more accommodating for them. I could try to make, spaces that we're going to share more, user-friendly for them, or, whatever. However, I would do that. But it's with the empathy, but not with necessarily understanding.
It's not.
There's a difference, I think.
But from my end, for instance, when I was younger, I used to laugh at Tourette syndrome. Because, if you take it at face value, it looks funny.
Yeah.
But this is where my point comes in. I've watched a lot of content about people with Tourette's, And now I no longer find it funny because I understand
of course
what they go through. I understand now that a lot of it is physically painful for them.
Yes.
And like outside of the emotional toll from being ridiculed and stared at and laughed at all the time. You know what I mean? So like, I will never understand what it's like to have Tourette's, but now I understand enough to
be better.
Tell people like, hey, you can't make Tourette's jokes. Like we don't, you know what I mean? Like, or like when someone with Tourette's is like, hey, we need this to make our lives better. I'm going to be like, hey, I don't understand, but I'm going to support you because that's what you need to survive and be happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like,
and my point isn't that they have to go through it in order to,
of course,
to be better about it. I'm just saying that like, you know, try though, as you may, and it is appreciated and valued. Let's be honest, you'll never fully understand it. And that's okay too. You know, and the steps that you make with the knowledge that you will never fully understand, but still want to try to empathize, those are the things that you move forward with.
It's true. But I guess what I'm trying to say, there wasn't a but there. What I am trying to say, and what I'm trying to say is that I think that we need to stop doing the thing where we're like, oh, I don't belong to that community, so like I'm just never going to understand.
No,
which is like literally what that one critic said. He's Emmy award winning, by the way.
Who?
That critic who wrote that about Joyride.
Fuck, that guy won an Emmy? Jackson something?
Whatever the fuck his white name is.
You're kidding me.
He won an Emmy. At least that's what it says on his Twitter profile.
My video kept getting taken down. I made a video about Joyride. It got taken down 3 times. I was like, what did I do? Like, I used little clips, but they use clips all over the place.
Oh my God. I literally put the whole clips of them saying the raunchiest things.
I was like,
that's crazy.
I know.
Don't take mine down. That's not what I'm saying.
Put mine back up.
Yeah.
Piss me
Put
off.
them back up. Yeah.
It's bullshit.
But either way, that guy literally was closed off in his mind before he saw the movie that because this is Asian, I'm just never going to understand. I can't relate. In fact, I have a friend who's white who told me, he was like, yeah, I don't really listen because like, I don't think I'm going to relate.
Thanks.
Right.
Asshole.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, but why don't you think we're going to relate? Because just because they're the Asian side or like some of the stories that I'm talking about has to do with an Asian experience doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a human experience. Oftentimes these are things that's what I mean. Like, I think a lot of people tend to be closed off and see things at face value when if you really listen, pay attention, you will find something in your past to relate to, even if you're like, look, I felt this and this felt horrible. And you're telling me you felt this.
Right.
I at least now know that like my whole week was ruined and my like self-esteem suffered because of this. And you're telling me like, you know what I mean?
You've lived this your whole life in this way. Yeah.
Right. That is understanding. Understanding doesn't mean like you see red, I know red. No, it doesn't have to be that. Like you know your favorite color, what it evokes in you, you know? You don't have to love the same color to understand what having a favorite color does to something. You know what I mean? Like,
I can't believe that guy didn't want to or didn't enjoy it because he couldn't relate. It's like, don't you have friends? Haven't you ever partied too hard? Haven't you ever like there are so many so many relatable things in that movie. It's not just about being a woman and being Asian.
Yeah.
That guy's the worst.
That guy is
also, could you imagine, like, conversely, if every Black, Indigenous, and person of color in this country turned off their television because they didn't find something relatable on a show that with white people?
Well, because like
back to the fucking Lawrence brothers point, like, hello,
like the critic who said a similar thing about Turning Red.
Yeah,
remember when that came out? They were like, yeah, we're not going to relate to this.
I'm not Chinese. It's like, yeah, I'm not a panda either, but I still watch the movie and I get it.
But we all, and that's the point. It's like, we watched movies for years and shows where like, we're not white, we related. You know what I mean? Like, I watched Home Improvement all the time.
Right.
I didn't even have a dad.
I'm not,
I still related. Right. The dumb fuck are you talking about?
I'm not a princess. Yeah. I'm not a mermaid. I'm not a chicken. I'm not like...
Yeah. Literally imagine if anyone I interacted with, as soon as they started talking about their dad, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to listen because like I don't have a dad. I'm not going to relate.
Right. That's crazy.
Do you know how dumb that sounds?
And the thing is like they expect us to be open-minded.
Right.
And they expect us to
Well, that's the crazy
absorb.
part is people think they say stuff like that and they think it's okay. And that's what I mean by when I say that, like, you should just relate things to your personal life. Because if I were about to say that, I'd be like, you know what? Before I say something that might sound stupid, let me just think back. Let me just make an analogy. If I were to be like, I don't have a dad, so no, that sounds stupid.
Right.
I've never eaten. Oh, no. Yeah, that sounds stupid.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the fact that people think that it's like, okay to even say that blows my mind because like you literally are saying from the beginning you choose not to understand people that don't look like you.
Right.
And that is
the wall's
where
already
the
up.
problem lies.
Right. The wall is already up.
Right. And that's why I don't think people realize why I think we both tend to harp on like that othering aspect of it, because what people don't understand is when you other somebody, you're basically saying you're something other than human. You're not this relatable thing. You're this person. You're this thing.
Right.
You know, and once you've othered someone in your mind, it's like the same thing as when you like put someone in a box, like I'm not going to like them. No matter what they say or do, you're just going to look through the lens of like, I don't like them. Even if people are like, you do realize you're the same person. Right. And you're like,
well, I've done that with people.
Yeah.
Where like I find out that somebody's like a lawyer and I'm like, fuck lawyers. Lawyers are fucking assholes or whatever. And then I'll meet them and be like, all right, you're pretty fucking cool. And I almost didn't become friends with you because you're a lawyer.
Right.
And like, that's dumb. That's dumb. It's so closed-minded and it's so limiting. And like, if you're not going to try to just like open yourself to understanding other people, then what the fuck are you doing? What are you even doing here? And like movie critics going into movies closed-minded, like, and not being able to find anything outside of just the general like understanding of the movie, which is for Asian women. Like that's it. That's all you got.
Which I really want to point out the fact that like you're trying to make your life as a movie critic where your whole job is to interpret, analyze, and like literally do that. And you're literally just loudly being like, yeah, I can't even look below the surface, but you want to be a credible movie critic.
Right.
What in the actual fuck is happening?
I'm going to remake that fucking video.
How did you
I'm going to remake that video and it's going to be all about that fucking guy.
Emmy? Yeah,
Fucker.
I was going to, because like the one thing I realized was that he also panned Shang-Chi.
And Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Gee, I'm sensing a fucking theme.
What is the theme?
If only I could try to figure out what the theme of his dislikes are.
And
I cannot.
And he literally was praising the new Indiana Jones movie, which is flopping like a motherfucker right now. One of these is not like the others. Yeah.
Really?
One of them flopped and the other three did amazing.
Yeah. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I forget what he said about it, but I was like,
probably something similar to the fact that it's like not relatable.
Yeah, he said it was like trying too hard. And I was like,
that's what he said about Joyride. I almost said Joy Luck Club.
Similar.
Yeah.
But totally different.
Totally different. Oh my gosh. But
and then the thing about those kinds of things, and when people interpret our experiences that way and like we hear them, we internalize those things, right? So like if I were a young, impressionable kid and I'd read like, oh, I can't relate, like, oh, so people who see me can't relate to me. So I want to be less me.
Right.
I want to be less me now so that I can relate to people and they can. And the reason I talk about this is because I was on TikTok and I had somebody reach out to me, or I was watching a video and I was like, oh my God, I think I know that girl. And I go to her page and it turns out she follows me. So now I'm thinking, oh, I think she must know who I am too. And it turns out she's this woman that I went to high school with. And she was one of, only a few Korean.
Was she in your grade?
She was a grade younger.
Okay.
She was one of.
That would have been so awkward after 30
years? Yeah, 30 years.
I forgot. And I was like trying to do the math without being offensive. I was like, God damn it, Ed.
417 years, you bag of dust, bitch.
60th.
So I go to her page and like whatever. And like, I don't want to say that we were like enemies. We weren't enemies, but we definitely weren't friends. And I think, and maybe this is just my perception, think that a lot of how we felt about each other, there was a little bit of animosity for no reason between the two of us. And I can't help but think it was because of all of the external things that were coming at us about how we shouldn't necessarily like or love ourselves. And so we couldn't love other people that were like us. And she's great. I mean, she is really interesting. And I think she's lived a really interesting life. And I looked back and I like regretted the fact that she and I were never friends. Yeah. I regretted the fact that I was like standoffish to her. And I think her to me to some degree, because we had internalized all of these ideals outside of what we really thought and wanted and thought we couldn't be friends. This town's not big enough for two Korean girls. Like, what? And so I think we maybe could have missed out on a really cool friendship.
Like projected perception.
Right.
Almost.
And my best friend in high school, Linda Kim, shout out to Linda Kim. She's so nice. She was my best friend. She was Korean.
Oh.
But I think she, like I, was also okay, so let's try to be as white as we can. can, okay? Like blend, go. You know what I mean? It was
Assimilate.
I played volleyball. We did the musicals. We were like, doing all the things that our white friends were doing. But like, behind closed doors, we would talk about Korean stuff and like, eat kimchi together and stuff, whatever. And I think we had that shared thing. And there was for some reason with Jen, I didn't have that. That like, it wasn't there for us. And I like look back and I'm like, that was so dumb. What a missed opportunity. And like, obviously it's not over. She's on TikTok now. We actually are mutuals now. But she seems really fucking cool. So I just wish that I didn't allow all of those external things to really affect my perception on other Asian people and myself,
But that's the whole bottom of the barrel mentality.
Right.
And that's why people don't understand. But when you literally are forced to compete with each other while trying to just fit in, that's what ends up happening is that people start butting heads and they just try not to be in last place.
Right.
And oftentimes that comes out of desperation. You start stepping over people to be like, I wasn't last. Did you see that photo finish?
Right,
that bitch is on the ground. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's sad and it's really fucked up and it's systemic.
Yeah, of course. It's really frustrating. And I think knowing now, I wish, looking back on then, that time in my life, I wish I had loved myself more. I wish I wasn't so fucking insecure about being who I am.
Yeah.
That it affected, potentials for me to have, really, meaningful relationships. And I don't know that she and I would have ever, but I never gave us the chance either.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of a bummer. But I don't know. Maybe I'll tell her that. Why not?
Yeah.
Shoot my shot. I don't even know what for.
Yeah. I mean, just might as well talk to her, water under the bridge.
Yeah.
You guys can be friends now. Is she in LA?
I believe so. I have no reason to believe she's not. But
LA is big.
LA is big. But
she big.
She grew up on like the other side of my parents' street. It was like this like kind of like.
Oh, you guys could have been like besties, like hung out all the time.
I mean, like. So like the way the street is though, it was like a mile uphill like this.
Oh.
Horseshoe. But she was just like on the other side of it.
Bike, it could have been plausible. Electric scooters.
You obviously don't know my parents' neighborhood at all because the hills are like.
I've been there.
It's like the hill is this. You were on like the flat part of the hill, but that's not the point. But my point is just like
not good.
Losing out on potential relationships and opportunities and friendships and making connections with people because we're so inundated with the idea that we're not worthy of those things is a real fucking bummer. And I think that's why we do what we do every single day. And people, and the thing that I never really expected was for people to thank me for the content that we make. It's because I understand it because I wish it was different. I wish it were different. And I think these little changes concentrically hopefully can make a difference.
Yeah. And people do. People thank us all the time for the content that we make. But I don't think people oftentimes realize that we make this content because, like we've said it before in other ambiguous ways, but we make content that we needed at that time, which means that at some place in our lives, we were going through very similar things where we were just trying to figure out who we were while assimilating, while trying not to stick out. And then we finally, after a really long roundabout way, came across here. And the reason why we started doing this podcast, I think, was because we both needed someone in our lives to commiserate about these things with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And which means that we all do, which is why we were like, you know what, if we need it,
then you do too.
I know for a fact there's bunch of people out there
so many
who need it, you know what I mean?
And it's not even just like the people who experience it themselves, it's the people that are around them that want to know, like, how can I further support my loved one, how can I further support my Asian, honestly, Korean wife, children, or whatever.
Those people paid attention to stuff like this, then the Asian people or the people of color, immigrants, whoever are listening to this and need this, they wouldn't need this
as much, right?
Yeah, as much.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope that is what the next ring of outreach is for our show and for our content and for all the things that we do, is that, like, I don't want to just talk to the Asian people that are listening. I want to talk to the non-Asian people who aren't listening, and understanding, like, why this is important. And if there is somebody in your life that you claim to care about and love, then this is the important stuff that you need to hear. This is the behind closed doors stuff that we talk about with each other because we can't seem to talk about it with you.
Right.
So if that is something that helps you open the door, and I think one of my most favorite letters that we ever got was from that dad who had a daughter that was, half Korean.
Yeah, I think about that often, actually.
Yeah, me too. And like how this show helped kind of bridge that gap a little bit and help her understand her mother better. I mean, like, there's just so many things, so many like different situations and people who, I don't know, just I need to hear it. I'm one of them. I'm top on the list, so.
Yep. Same.
That's That's what's happening with me.
Yeah, it's like the circle of life, you know?
Yeah.
You make mistakes, you grow up to fix them, you help other people
Yeah.
who are making mistakes,
That's all I can
and they
hope
grow
for.
up. Yeah, and then we all die.
Which is really funny because this whole podcast was not supposed to be about this at all. It just kind of happened. That's what happens. You put me and Ed in a room, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it did.
Well, half the time we're like, we're going to talk about this before, like on the podcast. And then like for an hour leading up to before recording, we just like talk about a bunch of random stuff. And our producer's always like, we should just record that beginning part. And now we don't really know how to get to topics, which is why we were like, we're not going to do topics anymore.
I know. But then it's just, but that's okay.
Our brains are also so
broken.
No, like so type. I don't know if type A is even the right word. We're just like so OCD in our brains where I think sometimes we would like there to be a topic because it helps us focus our ADHD brains.
Yes, I think that's what it is.
But then also because we have ADHD brains.
Right. I'm like, I need like a goal. I need like a finish line. And if I don't have that, I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm just like running all over the place.
Usually right back to where I started. I'm like, oh, am I starting to repeat myself?
Right. Like, oh, I've gone so full circle. I just told this story twice in the same fucking episode. Oops. But anyway.
Oh, good time.
On that note, thank you again, all.
Oh my God.
All of you so much for the support you and love you show us. It means it's so tremendous. It's so cool. I love it. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who doesn't comment on the fact that I am so overdue for a haircut.
I am one of those people that did not comment.
Yeah. No, but if you're Asian, you know the struggle that I'm talking about.
Starts to get prickly.
Yeah. Asian.
It's so thick.
A lot of Latino people.
Yes.
Yeah. We have very similar hairs and it just grows straight out until it just flops and goes dead. They just
it gives up. He's like,
yeah. It's like, I got it. It's like,
That's more like, I can't hold on anymore.
But I have a haircut today that I've been waiting for so long.
It's time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Sign off.
Sign off. On that note, you can follow. No, just kidding. Remember you can find Suji at. But seriously, thank you guys. And you can find us on our socials.
You can find me at Suji1 on TikTok and Instagram.
And you can find me, Ed, at Etch-a-Sketch with a J. And you can find the podcast at What in the Shibal. On that note, if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Yep. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell. I just wait for the day you give up and you're just like, ring.
I got a lot. It's going to be a long time.
You keep saying that, but it seems like you struggle.
I just forget that part's coming. And I'm like, oh no, I need a sound effect. We'd never use that.
Laugh track. No, but seriously on that note, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, bye.
That was good. I liked it. So hot. Oh, shit.
Like that wacky inflatable 2 guy.
Hello.
He has no idea what's happening. Acting like a fool right next door.